Okay. So thank you for being present. Thank you, Rachel, and to the team who put this together. And thank you for inviting me to talk. Um, I'm going to be speaking about the intersection of culture and contested landscape. Essentially, it's something that came up through an assignment that Rachel Sweeney set, and it was the objective was to unearth hidden narratives of place. So looking at how moving through water as a community can change and potentially unlock the narrative of conflict. In the previous presentation by a fellow student, Jen, I know the audio was quite poor, but essentially what Jen was talking about was individual well-being being impacted, and how individual well-being is impacted by a relationship with water. And she had moved from the UK to New Zealand and found herself very isolated and very alone and very much on the other side of the world in so many more ways than she had thought. And that connection, that relationship with water, how that helped heal. And so in bridging from Jen's presentation into mine, I look at community healing, contested landscape healing through moving through water. And I ask, can grief, can loss, can anger be changed through moving in water and as a community? Can the trauma of land be transmuted? Which brings me to my theme, the theme of healing of community and landscape through moving in water as a community. And how this came up was, and it's something that just came to me this morning actually, but fits so well. And I realize I dedicate this talk to my mother, my late mother, who couldn't swim, but had an incredible relationship with water nonetheless. The way she engaged with, and she would still be in the water, she couldn't swim, and this was as a result of many social situations in South Africa historically that has impacted why certain populations don't swim. And that is quite a widespread phenomenon in South Africa, that across certain communities and populations, it's not a thing for somebody to be able to swim, despite South Africa being a country surrounded by coast. And so I dedicate this to her. She had the incredible affinity. She would be driving and she didn't have focus too much on the water, but she would see whales and dolphins like that. Even me as a passenger in the back of the car, me focusing so strongly on the water, I couldn't see the whales as quick as she could. I couldn't spot the dolphins or the pods of dolphins as quick as she can. And considering while she was driving. So I dedicate this to her. This is what I say. And I look at a particular case in an area called Simonstown in South Africa, an incredibly beautiful place. It has harbor, it has an incredible history, beautiful and heartbreaking, incredible dive spots and beaches, and it has penguins, which is what brings tourists to the space, because it's this very unique image of penguins on the beach. And I'd like to share this video with you. Of a little penguin crossing the street. And it's actually something that you see, big signs on the side of the road that say "Mind the penguins," and he's just returning to his partner. And this is on the way to I wonder if you'd be able, I hope you can hear the audio of this. just on the side of the road as you approach the beach. And despite Simonstown being a phenomenal location for varying reasons, it has a very tangible, awkward energy. And this is reflected in house sales and often people renting as opposed to buying. And despite it being beautiful, it's my intentions are always, or my time in the place is always objective based. I'll go in for a swim and I'll go out. There's no wondering, there's no wanting to stay because of this very tangible, awkward energy that I attribute to its history. And so as a contested landscape, Simonstown, despite being beautiful, and it is not magnetic for the very reason I go on to talk about. So there is this idea of staying with the trouble. So despite it being awkward, and I asked myself, why is it that I don't want to spend a lot of time here? Simonstown is 10 minutes away, but I actually can't remember the last time I went there. And despite invitations to. And then I ask myself about what can we do as populations, if anything at all, to transmute this energy of place. And there's this, it's the staying with the trouble. It's the intersection of contested landscape and swimming culture, and something that was birthed through a community we call the Sunrise community. And so I addressed this with a fellow friend, and so we started a swimming group, a wild swimming group, and decided our meeting point would be the center of Simonstown, a beach called Windmill Beach. And we invited women of all colors, socioeconomic classes, and we would meet sunrise and we would swim and dive together. And this is where immediately we felt, individually and collectively, the energy of the space change. And this is what I refer to when I say it's the intersection of contested landscape and swimming culture. It's this invitation to revisit places that make us feel awkward because of its history or social story, to return to the places that have this conflict, places that make us feel uncomfortable and uneasy, places that carry a trauma that we try hard to forget. Wild swimming community culture offers an alternative narrative. It's a calling to walk and be in that space without holding the tension of that place. And so I'd like to just share images of and a video. It's just a 10-second video of what it looks like arriving at sunrise at Windmill Beach. That used to be a beach that was integral as a part of apartheid, South African segregation, where prisoners were kept. And so this is the beach that we meet on, and this is what it looks like. And there's something that happens when we meet there at sunrise as a community. We lay down our mats, we sit down, we pour cups of tea, cups of coffee. We sit closely together, we watch the sunrise. We suit up into our wetsuits, our snorkels, some with wetsuits, some without, and we enter the water together. Despite the tension in our bodies that we feel, and gradually as it leaves our bodies, as our faces touch the water, as our bodies sink beneath the surface. We heal as individually, we heal collectively. And recently we've invited groups from under-resourced communities and organized transport to the space, with young girls between the ages of 5 and 15. We swim together, changing the narrative, changing the energy of this place collectively. And we've been moving in at Windmill Beach and encouraging communities across the board. So this is in a different space, but these bodies of water, especially within the valley and the False Bay area, those bodies of water are directly linked. And this is one of the reservoirs where one group meeting happens. This is my last image that I'd like to share with you. And in closing, what resonates with me the most about the intersection of culture and swimming culture and contested landscape is the accessibility and the diversity of the practice. Wild swimming culture is inclusive. It's a practice that says anyone can actively participate in changing the future narratives of place. It says whoever you are, you can positively impact your community and landscape. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Monique. Absolutely beautiful. There's lovely comments coming in. If it's okay, I'm going to go ahead and keep the questions and the reflections to the end. Both Monique Rodgers and Jen Rose are students at Schumacher College, and the movement program that I teach there when I'm not in Ireland is in a master's in movement, mind and ecology. So I think we have a few more things to cover. We'd also like to factor in a little comfort break, and I'm just going to do a little bit of timekeeping now. I think perhaps we'll just go straight into one more, and then we'll take a little break. And I think Linda, I'll bring you in just straight after the break if that's okay. So I'd like to